Crypto's still stuck in this bear market, bear winter type thing. We've obviously, since Dubai, we've had the FTX collapse, and that's just, earth shattering. But at the same time, I know this sounds weird, but it's almost like something that I wanted to see happen so that I knew that we were getting close to the end of the bear market. And again, it's not like it's tomorrow or next week, but this is the final, to me, this is the final flush out in crypto that is now starting.
Hey guys, welcome back to Library of Wealth. Today we have Gareth Soloway on Altcoin Daily talking about the future of the crypto industry. Soloway says that we are in a bubble, and when the bubble disintegrates, everything gets destroyed. Soloway says that the reason why money is being directed away from the crypto industry is because many investors have already lost money. He says that crypto also lacks funding because of the absence of regulations, and currently, both crypto patterns are bearish, which doesn't bode well for the industry. Even though the market is expecting a move up, the current patterns will quickly push things back down. Soloway advises investors to start preparing for the worst-case scenario. Let's listen to Gareth Soloway as he gives his take on the current financial economy and what crypto's role will be in the next 30 days. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content we do here on this channel. Let's get right into the video.
You always try to look at things on the positive side, at least I do, and I think that's the positive take here, is that it's a horrendous situation, but this should be the final flush out of crypto before it bottoms. So I think it is playing out like I thought. I did have no idea that FTX was going to be, the situation that it was. But what you find out is in bear markets, it's essentially the tide goes out, or essentially the money stops, it dries up for all of these cryptos. And you see who's wearing a bathing suit when that tide goes out, right? So, who's being shady, that's revealed, and then who's being legitimate that survives, and they're going to be the ones that thrive in the new bull market. So I think that's the key, is that this happens. I mean, you could go back to 2008, Lehman Brothers. I mean, Lehman made some very poor bets, and it filed for bankruptcy. It was kind of an earth-shattering event back in 2008. The markets took about 6 months from there to bottom, so that kind of gauges me. Where I'm saying, okay, I think with 5 or 6 months out from the FTX collapse, you likely reach a bottom in crypto. Now, whether that's 12,000 or 9,000, I'm a little shaky on that, but I do think that's the key. And then if we go back to like the .com collapse, interestingly enough, you had Enron and WorldCom, right? And these were two companies that were doing very shady things with their accounting and their books, and basically fabricating a lot of stuff very similar to FTX. And when the bear market came there, they couldn't hide it anymore. And really, I mean, heck, you could even go back to Bernie Madoff, right? Bernie Madoff was continually, making his investors think they were just having amazing gains. But when the bear market hit, people started to pull their money out. So he couldn't continue the pyramid scheme, essentially. So I think that's kind of where we are. But again, the positive is I think we're 5 to 6 months out from a good official bottom in crypto. Yeah, I think just again, from me, I'm a history buff. So I not only just on world history, but also on stock and market history and asset history. And you have to look back at Lehman Brothers. And in fact, let me show my chart here, because I do think it's worth kind of taking a look at what the kind of play out was on the S&P 500. So what I'm going to do quickly is just scroll all the way back to 2008. And what we're going to see is that when Lehman Brothers announced, and we're almost there here. Let's see here. There we go. So 2008. So September 15th is when Lehman Brothers occurred. So it basically occurred right here. And what we saw was that initially you flushed, and then you had a little bounce. And if you notice, Bitcoin is actually staging a little bit of a bounce the last few days. But then what happened was you had this kind of cascading sell-off that took us into the March lows. And from this date, this was March. So basically September to March is approximately 6 months. And that again makes me think that you still have some downside, because there is deleveraging that will occur. And I think this is one of the things that a lot of newer investors don't understand, is that you have companies out there that are involved. They had investments with FTX, and now they're distressed.
Soloway believes that crypto's value will need to dramatically increase in order to remove all the weak players in the industry. He noticed that investors everywhere are suddenly giving up on crypto and removing all traces of it from their portfolios. He sees many players starting to become bearish and fearful. Soloway says that the crypto market is beginning to show extreme similarities to everything in the dot-com bubble.
And what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to sell off assets to become less stressed. And so that's going to be Bitcoin holdings, Ethereum holdings, other coin holdings. And so you're going to have this kind of multi-month period where there's just going to be pressure on crypto in general because of the deleveraging that has to go on in the system. So I think that's what happened with Lehman Brothers, and you saw this kind of collapse. Now, what's fascinating is when the S&P bottomed in March 09, the Fed began quantitative easing. Now, the Fed is not going to do quantitative easing in this scenario, but that's okay because there's something else that will mark the bottom in crypto. And that, for me, is when you get a regulatory framework which creates transparency, right? And again, you could argue whether you think the government will overregulate or not. They probably will slightly, but I think we all have to agree at this point, you have to have protections for regular investors where you can't have these scenarios continue to occur. Terra Luna, Celsius, now obviously FTX. You need transparency, so you need some sort of regulation. So I think within 5 or 6 months, that's going to coordinate with the low in crypto. And once you get that regulatory framework, then big money is going to come in like crazy. I think there's a ton of big money that still says, I wish I could invest in Bitcoin, but I just can't because it's too risky, right? I can't wake up and I'm investing people's money, right? I have a hedge fund. I'm investing $100 million in crypto. I can't do it if there's a risk that it just vanishes tomorrow. Once you get regulation and transparency, you will see that money come in. And the other thing to point out on that chart of the S&P 500, not only was it a 6-month time frame, but there was essentially a drop in the S&P of about 45% from the Lehman Brothers breaking collapse story. And so what that does to me is I looked at it and I said, okay, from FTX, what would be a 45% drop in Bitcoin? And it's basically around 10,000 to 9,000. So that gives me a basis to where I think we could see that ultimate low. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but for me, it's all about looking at history and kind of matching things up.
Soloway says that Bitcoin still has a chance of showing itself to be digital gold. Even if Bitcoin gets destroyed, it still has a chance to thrive because big investors are beginning to back it. Soloway notes that bear markets are making people afraid to jump back into the financial sector. He believes that because the Fed has stopped printing currency, this bear market will last longer than people expect. What do you guys think about Gareth Soloway's opinion that we're currently in a bear market? Let us know in the comments below. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.